What's up, Variant Nation? At the recent D23 event, fans got their very first look at the return of Jon Bernthal's Punisher in the upcoming Daredevil Born Again series. And so far, it looks like they will be picking things up right where the Netflix Punisher series left off, with the Punisher terrorizing criminals and demonstrating why he's among the most feared anti-heroes in all of comics. And make no mistake, among the Marvel heroes and anti-heroes, the Punisher is on a very short list of characters consistently portrayed as one the Marvel villains would really rather avoid. And that's because after his family was murdered, he made it his singular life's mission to relentlessly and severely punish those who seek to exploit or cause harm to the innocent. In the Punisher's mind, he is effectively judge, jury, and executioner, and he fulfills his purpose with extreme conviction, using any and all means necessary to carry out judgment, which includes putting you 6 feet underground without losing a second of sleep if he thinks you've earned it. So while we wait to find out what they do with Punisher in the new Born Again series, which drops in March of next year, we're going to dive into the comics and give you some great examples for why villains are basically terrified of the Punisher. Okay, with that laid out, the first instance we have queued up comes from Marvel Knights The Punisher issue 4 in a story titled Wild Kingdom. In the issue, the Punisher was surveilling the daily activity of Manucci, matriarch of the Nucci crime family, as part of his prep to take her out for good. But while the Punisher was scoping out her security detail near Central Park, one of her men spots him, freaks out, and starts shooting at him wildly. The Punisher quickly jumps the wall behind him into Central Park Zoo, but gets hit by 2 rounds in the process. We then see narration from the Punisher that reads, "That's the sound of my luck running out. I wasn't even gonna hit her tonight." The limo meets them at the park, and this little punk, probably on his first time guarding the witch, turns, and just like that, he looks right at me. He looks in my eyes and doesn't like what he sees, and something tells him this is it. He's a bright kid. He should go far. I have a 45. He has a submachine gun. My night goes downhill from there. We then see the Punisher holding one of his gunshot wounds, followed by Manucci getting out of her limo and screaming to her men, "It's him, the Punisher. Shoot him down. He killed my sons. He killed my brother. I want his head." So her men do as told and chase the Punisher into the zoo, and as they're looking for him, we see the Punisher hiding in the bushes, saying to himself, "One in the shoulder went through the meat, the other one took a chunk of rib with it. That's the killer. Just had the pistol with me. Wasn't planning on anything major. All I've got is what comes to hand and a world of hurt to use up on the first Goomba to come through that door." He then sees that the first person to walk in is the very same guy who shot him, and he says to himself, "Thank you, God." The Punisher then takes advantage of the opportunity and jumps out of the bushes, grabs the boy by the neck and groin, lifts him up in the air, and dunks him headfirst into a piranha tank. As he says, "In a place like this, what comes to hand depends on your imagination." The Punisher then holds him by the ankles as the piranhas do their work. And he tells the piranha, "Eat up, guys, I haven't got all night." And by the time the rest of Manucci's men find the blue-eyed boy, as Punisher called him, all that's left is his skeleton. It's pretty brutal and a very good example for why criminals don't want to mess with the Punisher. I mean, he drowned the guy while piranhas ate him alive, then left his skeleton as a warning for the other henchmen. That's like old school pirate level stuff. Anyway, this same issue follows this up with another crazy example for why Punisher terrifies people, because the Punisher then lures Manucci down into the polar bear exhibit. We initially see that the polar bears are sleeping, but the Punisher wakes them up, punches one of them in the face, and stirs them into a frenzy before using the back of the dude who was helping Manucci to leap out of the bear pit. And by the time Manucci and her henchmen realized the trouble they were in, they had 3 very angry polar bears hovering over them. In fact, one of the polar bears literally slaps her henchman's head off his shoulders. Just slaps it off. While the other 2 attack and seemingly devour Manucci. So in the end, at least in this story, the Punisher is even more brutal without actual weapons. However, it's later revealed in issue 5 that Manucci somehow survived the polar bear attack, but lost all 4 limbs to the teed-up beasts. And because the Punisher is freaking relentless, in issue 12 of this series, the Punisher comes to her house and pours gasoline all over everything as he tells her, "Don't mind me, Ma, I'll be out of your way in no time at all." The limbless Manucci obviously can't move or do anything to stop him, but she says, "I can't believe you're actually doing this," to which he replies, "You're a monster and I'm killing you. It's not complicated." She then yells, "But why this? Why burn down the entire house?" He tells her, "Because I want you gone from the face of this earth." At this point, she just continues yelling at him and threatening him, but he doesn't even blink. He finishes dousing the place in gasoline, then sets the house on fire by throwing a grenade inside. But even with no limbs, a furious Manucci won't go down without a fight, so she nudges her chair to the window and leaps at him, screaming, "I'm coming to get you, Punisher." It becomes a bit comical as she bounces off the ground next to him and starts biting at his ankles, but he just looks at her and says, "Go back to hell, Ma," followed by boot kicking her into the fiery house like a football, killing her once and for all. This entire story is a good warm-up for anyone who hasn't read Punisher comics before, because it quickly helps you realize what a savage the Punisher is. Now, before we move to the next example of Punisher wreaking havoc on villains, we've been bidding on items items at pristineauction.com like crazy. And we just received a couple more of the items I recently won, so check these out. All right, so we have 2 more items here that we just recently won from Pristine Auction, both of which I'm crazy excited about. First, because Deadpool and Wolverine just came out recently and has been blowing up the box office for good reason. It was fantastic. And second, because we are about to get into football season and I'm a big football fan, particularly a Miami Dolphins fan. So this one, I'm really excited about this one especially. And we'll start with this. It's a 9.6 CGC graded Deadpool #1 by Fabian Nicieza and Joe Mads. This is kind of an iconic cover, but it is also the first issue of the famous Circle Chase storyline, which is one of Deadpool's biggest stories. But we've got this one, and this is an awesome add to our collection. So very excited to have this one in-house. The second thing, again, I'm really excited about this one. This is a signed jersey by Mercury Morris. He was the running back for the 1972 undefeated Miami Dolphins. And this is, you can see it's got the signature verification cert on the bottom there, but this one is gonna go into a frame and is gonna be hanging up on a wall, because that one that's a cool one. And both of these items are just another great demonstration of how many different things you can find and win for yourself on Pristine Auction. That's why we love them. We've had Pristine Auction as a sponsor here on the show for a while now, and that's honestly because we love what they do. Their pop culture auctions are always a highlight where you can find signed items from classic comics to TV shows, movies, music, and more. But as you can see, they really have a little bit of everything. If you're not familiar with them, Pristine is one of the most trusted memorabilia auction sites out there with an insane catalog of collectibles. And like I said earlier, each item comes with a certificate of authenticity from the industry's leading authenticators. So go check out Pristine's pop culture auction for yourself by using our link in the description. Auctions start at only $20, they have no reserves, and they run all week long every Friday to Friday. And when you use registration code VARIANT, you'll get $10 off your first order. So just click our link in the description below. All right, so this next example is pretty dark, and it comes from Punisher Max issue 29. The Max comic line of Marvel Comics was intended for explicit content, and this next example is based around a very heavy storyline. Essentially, this is part 5 of the Slaver storyline for the series, in which the Punisher has found a sex trafficking ring. Clearly, this is going to land pretty high on the Punisher's chopping block, so he brings them down in very brutal ways. As he works his way through the trafficking ring, he makes his way to Vera Constantine, one of the higher-ups in the sex trafficking operation, who has a series of brothels where these heinous acts are committed. We see the Punisher confront her in her penthouse office, shooting 2 of her men as he grabs her by the back of the head, saying he knows everything. He then throws her at the window of her penthouse office as her face smashes into the shatterproof glass. He then continues to tell her that he knows how to get in, how the business operates, but the only thing he doesn't know is where the old man would go if he was hiding out. And he's referring to Bulat, the final boss of the operation, so to speak. The Punisher then picks her up by the neck as she tells him, "Please, he'll kill me." But he just responds, "No, he won't," as he throws her into the glass again. Now at this point, blood is everywhere and her face is half broken, but she didn't go through the window as the Punisher intended. So the Punisher just says, "Shatterproof, you'll fall apart before the glass does." He then pulls out some documents telling her, "Christu told me something about when you and he were starting out. Something you said, rape them to break them. Christu didn't get it, but you explained. They had to be shown right away just who was in control. They couldn't stop you when you had them lifted off the streets. They couldn't stop you now. They had to understand that they were powerless to prevent anything from being done to them. Christu was the businessman. The old man's a soldier, but you're the one who makes it work." He then picks her up again while saying, "You can't break the glass, but you hit it hard enough, often enough, maybe 25 or 30 times, eventually you'll bend the frame." And this whole time she's struggling, trying to break free and pleading with him, but he just says, "I'm stronger than you, so I can do anything I want. Isn't that the way it works?" He then hurls her at the window one more time, but this time the whole window frame caves, with her flying out and falling to her death. So when the Punisher finds one of the leaders of this sex slaver organization, he throws her into the window repeatedly until the whole frame breaks off and she falls to her death. And the whole scene is just brutal. It's gory, her face is bloody and broken, but the kicker is, as she's begging him, he mocks her with what she said about the poor girls they forced into sex slavery. It's the kind of brutal justice that you will only see from the Punisher. But examples like this only continue into issue 30, part 6, and the final chapter of the Slaver's arc. You see, the Punisher is just working his way up the ladder of this sex slaver's operation, and obviously he finally makes his way to the final boss. And when he finds him, he chains him to a chair in a basement and then starts pouring gasoline all over him. Yeah, I think you know where this is going. Bulat starts cursing at the Punisher, telling him, "You let me out of this chair and I'll show you how a man fights." But the Punisher doesn't say a single word. He just hits record on a camera that's standing on a tripod next to him, at which point he lights him on fire while recording it. I guess a good way to look at it is the Punisher is the original version of Liam Neeson's character from the Taken films. He has a very particular set of skills. He'll find you and he'll kill you in very gory ways. And overall, that's one of the big reasons the Punisher is so terrifying. It's because he puts a lot of thought into the way he's going to punish or kill you. He certainly does not lack any creativity in that department, and this next instance from Punisher Warzone #1 demonstrates that. In the issue, the Punisher captures a guy named Mick and ties him up, hanging him upside down. The Punisher then says, "Let's talk. I want you to get me an introduction to your bosses. You don't help me, and I'll kill you now, Mickey." But Mick replies, "I'll tell you nothing. We got a code. Go ahead and kill me." But the Punisher just picks up a blowtorch and says, "Nice bluff, Mick, but I said I was going to kill you now. That doesn't mean you're going to die right away." He then brings the blowtorch close to Mick's back while Mickey says, "Hey, you're not for real." But the Punisher replies, "It won't hurt at first, Mick. It's too hot. It sears the nerve endings. You'll smell burning meat, and then it'll hurt." At this point, Mick starts to scream in pain as we see the Punisher put a popsicle to his back and the blowtorch to a stake. As the Punisher says, "Smell that? I'm burning off some of your fat." Mick, while writhing in pain, says, "Anything. I'll do anything you want." At which point, the Punisher reveals it's actually a popsicle he was putting on his back, saying, "It's not how much it hurts, it's how much you think it'll hurt. There's a card in your wallet. Give me a call when you set things up," as he shoves the popsicle in Mickey's mouth. Again, this scene just proves how creative the Punisher is with his punishments, as this was completely psychological. In fact, it was quite brilliant, and that's why this scene was used for the 2004 Punisher film, and it's easily one of the standout scenes in the entire movie. But the last example we're going to give you is an epic scene from Secret Wars in 2015. So as a general overview of what's going down in the 2015 Secret Wars story, the Ultimate Universe is colliding with the Marvel 616 universe, which is referred to as an interdimensional incursion. This obviously causes everyone to believe that the world is coming to an end, but you have the Avengers and many of Earth's heroes trying to stop it, like they always do. In the meantime, however, Kingpin sends out an email to several villains in the Marvel Universe saying, "Like all of you, I dreamed of a glorious end. Me standing over the vanquished as the world looked up in envy. But it seems time, that fickle mistress, has robbed us all of such an opportunity. So I say this, if the world is truly ending, let it end thusly, with drink and joy at the sight of our enemy's greatest failure. Please join me for our most raucous celebration at that place where we met that time for the thing. I'm buying. Sincerely, Wilson Fisk." So as the story progresses, we learn that Kingpin has invited several villains to a bar to watch the heroes fail at trying to save the world over drinks. So that way, their last memory will be seeing the heroes die. And I'm talking the Lizard is there, Bullseye, Sandman, Harry Osborn, and so on. Some of the heaviest hitters amongst Marvel's rogues gallery. But in issue 1 of Secret Wars, as this is going down, guess who comes walking into the bar aiming to spoil all their fun? Yep, it's the freaking Punisher. And he tells them, "Gentlemen, they say that when you die, you can't take it with you." Which begs the question, exactly what am I gonna do with all these bullets? And he raises his automatic rifle as he's saying this. Essentially, instead of trying to help the other heroes save the world, the Punisher's like, no. We're all gonna die anyway, and I can't take any of my ammo with me, so I'm gonna pump it into every villain I can get my hands on. And that is what makes the Punisher so terrifying. It's the way he thinks. He's just constantly thinking about punishing evil. In a time like this where he should be trying to help the other heroes save the world in some capacity, he's thinking, yeah, I'm gonna die. I can't take any of it with me, so I might as well use them on the bad guys. He just has a crazy mindset, and this unwavering and unrelenting drive to put evildoers 6 feet under is 100% what makes the Punisher so terrifying. But that, my friends, wraps up our case for why the Punisher scares Marvel villains more than many other heroes with a lot more power than he has. The character definitely lives up to his name, that's for sure. In fact, there are many more examples we could have used to make the point, but we'll turn it over to you guys. Let us know what your favorite Savage Punisher moment is down in the comments. Otherwise, we'll see you guys next time when we talk about all things comics.